Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Clinic Gym Radio. I am your host, Dr. Josh Satterley, and I'm honored today to be with my guest, Dr. Greg Rose. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, buddy. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Now, those of you who haven't heard of Dr. Greg Rose are in for a real treat. But Greg, can you give them a little 1 or 2 minute synopsis of kind of your background and what you're doing these days?
My background is I taught Josh everything he knows, right? Isn't that my background? No.
Son of a gun! Already got me.
So basically, my background, okay, so let's see, engineer was my undergraduate, then became a chiropractor.
Okay.
Went to Palmer Chiropractic College in Davenport, Iowa, and then
The Mecca.
And decided that I loved the sport of golf, and I loved working with athletes, and I moved to where I grew up outside of Washington, D.C., Rockville, Maryland. Opened up a practice called Advantage Golf. Everybody told me I was crazy, that you can't have a chiropractic practice for one sport. And I was like, well, that's what the eye doctor said when they said they were just going to work on the eye.
Yep.
And 5 years later, I had over 3,000 patients that were golfers all over the world. And it's taken off. For 12 years, I was the director of the Titleist Performance Institute for the golf company Titleist.
TPI, as it's lovingly called.
Yep. And we still operate TPI all over the world, doing certification seminars. We're the second largest golf education or certification in the world now. We have over 21,000 TPI certified professionals in 63 countries.
But who's bragging?
Nobody's bragging.
Yeah.
And then probably even a bigger footprint, though, is something that I got involved with, if I go back, is functional movement systems, FMS.
Okay.
So FMS was started by Gray Cook and Lee Burton and Kyle Kiesel back in 1996. And in 2003, a lot of people don't realize this, is we started talking about Gray and those guys were always great friends, and it's on our advisory board. And we started talking about creating a injury movement screen. So the functional movement screen was really designed as a tool to figure out what you should and shouldn't do in the gym.
Right.
But it wasn't designed to try and figure out what's wrong with somebody injury-wise once they've been injured.
Okay.
So we started talking about how to create one for injuries, and we developed something together called the SFMA, Selective Functional Movement Assessment. And in 2004, believe it or not, we launched that to the world through TPI. We did it as our medical certification, and after about a year and a half of doing that, we brought it back to FMS and took it, because we're like, this isn't just for golfers, this is for everybody in the world. And now I've been part of that company since then, and we've been taking SFMA all over the chiropractic world, so to say, and it's been a hell of a ride.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think everybody's in for a treat with this interview, but let me ask a little bit about when you go over your history there. One of the things that I see is happening more and more in chiropractic clinics or these multidisciplinary clinics is this idea that you really can't tell what the license is of the person that's in there, right? Are they a chiro?
That's my little saying is I always say, if I can walk into your office and I can tell if you're a chiropractor or a physical therapist, there's obviously a massive gap in your knowledge.
Okay.
Because I feel like the modern chiropractor, the modern physical therapist should have all the tools to take care of anything they've got, right? Okay. And if you don't, the only thing that's limiting you is you, right? Because you can go get that information.
Ooh, man.
Right?
Greg, you're opening up the can of worms here. Because there's one thing that I know about...
You blame your school, but I don't blame your school. I blame you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's one thing I know about Greg Rose, and it's you're not scared, right? Like there is...
I will tell you what I think. Let's put it that way.
But I think it's also part of being an engineer is saying there's no problem that's insurmountable. Like, hey, make this piece of aluminum fly. And you're like, okay, let me thin it out and get the shape of wings, and we'll make an airplane, and we'll get aluminum to fly, right?
Here's my thing. It doesn't bother me if, let's say you're an upper cervical chiropractor. I have some incredible friends. That's what they do. But what makes them really successful is that if the patient comes in, they do their thing. If it doesn't work, or they realize right away that this won't work, they have a alliance of other practitioners that they're like, and they send you to the right place. So they still act as like the general practitioner. They tell you where to go, blah, blah. But if you're in a mindset of this is the only thing anybody needs, and all I do is this, I just feel like that's...
and if they're not getting better, it's their fault, not mine.
They blame the patient. Yeah. And that is a disservice to our profession.
Right. That is malpractice. I mean...
In my mind, too.
And it doesn't... That's not just chiropractors. Like if
that's
podiatrists...
medical. That's medical industry.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I am wildly inspired by the... I never let you onto that, by the way, but, I don't want you to get a big head. But I'm wildly inspired by how big you think, right? Like when people were talking about TPI, like before TPI, can you share a little bit of the story you've shared with me before of sitting there with your crew in Washington, D.C. and thinking, hey, how do we take this thing bigger from Advantage Golf to, hey, can we maybe
Well, I'll start by saying I'm a big believer in that, and you've heard us speak with Tom Plummer in our business schools. I'm a big believer in writing down your 10-year goals, right?
Okay.
Or literally, I think everybody, and this is a cliche that a lot of people have heard, but I don't know many people who do it because it's not easy. I mean, it takes like a month to do what I'm about to say. Is write down where you
and
want
it's not easy because it's also, I think there's like the fear or hesitation to, am I allowed to think this big?
I think there's a perception that what I'm about to say is easy. And when you go do it, you're going to realize it's not, which is basically all I'm going to say is this. Write down what you, if you were the king of the world and you can, anything could happen and everything, all the stars align perfectly and it's your dream, write down where you would be in 10 years, what you'd be doing, okay? And when you do that, and you write that down in 10 years, then you say, okay, to get there in 10 years, where do I need to be in 9 years? Then you write down in the ninth year, here's where I need to be. And then you go to get to that in 9 years, where do I need to be in 8 years, and you work your way backwards. What most people do is what you just said, is they write something down, they move back to 9, they move back to 8, and they move back to 7, they're like, hell, I could be, like, it only took me 3 years, and I'm already here at 7. So I'm like, well, that's not where you'll be in 10, you could be there in 4 years. You're not thinking big enough, right? So that's what I'm saying is like, if you really do that, and you can, and you do this backward regression, let's put it this way, you know, if you work backwards and you're like, I can't even get there, like, yeah, I need 20 years. Okay, you're thinking too big. I've never seen that. Usually what happens is people write it down and they move back 1, 2, 3, 4 years and they're done. And I'm like, okay, that's your 4-year plan, not your 10-year plan. You're not thinking big enough. Okay.
So that's a great strategy, but tactically, how did that go when you were the first time you did it? So you're a young chiropractor, you got, you got some patients, you got the world's your oyster, but
okay. So think about me right now. So I decide I want to do what I love, which was golf.
Okay.
Right. So I say this to my friends. I'm like, I'm going to open up a chiropractic practice called Advantage Golf, and they're like, you're going to go bankrupt. You can't just work on golfers. And I'm like, I can always,
timeline-wise, this is
1996.
Okay.
And I'm like, listen, I can always go be a regular chiropractor if it doesn't work. Right. You got to go for it. Right. So I'd say, okay, what would be the dream? Okay, here's the dream. I write down the dream, and I say, okay, in 10 years, I could imagine if I had 4 or 5 practices around Washington, D.C.
Okay.
They were called Advantage Golf, and I worked with all the golf courses and all the golfers in here, and I had all the pros sending me people, and I became the golf doctor. I'm like, that would be the dream.
Okay.
Right? I did the same thing, Josh. I did the same problem, right? What I just said right there.
That was as big as you were thinking at the time.
Okay, I didn't think that countries would be calling me to help certify their federations in 10 years, which is what has happened. Right. Now, I've got lucky. I'm a big believer in luck, being in the right place at the right time. Like, I started the year Tiger Woods started. And Tiger Woods, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be having this interview with you. Right? He doesn't know this, but literally he started people asking, like, what is this kid doing? Like, he's got to be doing something. Like, an athlete is now playing golf.
It's like outliers with Malcolm Gladwell. Like 5 years before, it wouldn't have mattered. 5 years later, everybody was doing it.
So I got lucky, but I even made the same mistake. I wasn't thinking big enough. I wasn't thinking, like, I could have a global leading manufacturer support my vision, help me take this, and now become, literally, we're almost like the PGA of China. I mean, if you want to become certified in China in golf, we're the leading certification there, right? Wow. So
is China a big country?
It's a pretty big country.
Okay. And just for scale,
And so you never know what you can be unless you dream big enough.
Okay.
And you can never achieve something big if you don't write it down. And if you write it down and you start breaking it down year by year, you start to realize, it's not a big step to get to next year. And just get to year 1.
Okay.
And then when you get to year 2. And if you keep doing this, because how do you know, like, everybody gets opportunities. Like, somebody will walk in, I know this happens to you. Somebody will walk into your clinic and like, Josh, I got a great idea. We're here in Vegas and they're opening this new casino and I want you to be the guy. Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Wow, it's so exciting. Oh my God, what should I do?
If you don't have a plan, you don't know. If you go back to your 10 year and you go, okay, is that going to help me advance this plan? If it's a right-hand detour, I'm not saying bypass it, but go play out that 10-year thing too.
What are some, so people know, what are some almost? I mean, there were probably some sweet deals that crossed your path at some point that people would be like, you're stupid for turning this down, Greg. This is the biggest opportunity you'll ever have.
Well, I'll tell you the opposite.
Okay.
When I was in Washington, D.C., and we had so I started with a chiropractic practice. After 4.5 years, I opened up a huge fitness facility called Club Golf that had our medical practice. And by the way, it's multidisciplinary. I had orthopedic surgeons, physical therapists, and chiropractors in this
and fitness
area.
Pros, right?
Oh, we had there was an 80,000 square foot fitness facility with 12,000 members.
By the way, that's a blended clinic gym hybrid facility for everybody listening.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
at that time, the CEO of Titleist came into our facility with his son, who was 9 years old, right? And he was bringing his 9-year-old. His coach, Dave Phillips, brings him in and says, "Hey, I want this kid to get a little stronger, get more flexible." So he brings him to me. I don't know the dad's the CEO of Titleist, but after we meet, he was like, this is something that I think could help grow the game of golf, because we can get more people playing longer, playing more, having more fun. It helps us as a manufacturer. People will use more golf balls, clubs.
Right.
And he left. And I sat down with my team, like you said, and I was like, guys, I think we could get Titleist potentially to help us, to be a sponsor. And the rest of my team was like, Greg, the manufacturer is never going to want to do this. And I'm like, I think you're wrong. I think they're interested. And if I would have listened to some of them, right, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you. And I was like, you know what? I think that they have the vision that this could happen, and we went after it. And I would say, like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, it's fear that holds people back too. It's thinking small.
Yeah.
Fear. What's them saying no? Is that
Right.
the worst thing that's going to happen?
But you're no worse off than you are now, right?
Correct. Like,
Nice.
just take a chance. You got to know when to jump, right?
Okay.
Like you're going to have
Now
these,
this is at the time though, you're operating probably I'm going to guess is the only dedicated golf facility in the United States that's doing that.
It was the only one that I had seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was
point in
actually
time, I think it was one of the first ones in the world.
right. And it was enough to move the needle, so to speak, that a guy like that would actually offer on you, right? So
I think
you had some confidence too.
He saw too that I like your vision. You don't have the reach and the marketing and the ability to do what you want, but I think I want to help you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, again, there's going to be opportunities in everybody's life where that person's going to walk in, and you have to have the guts to either ask them or say go. And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes you're going to fall, but sometimes it's going to work. But if you always say no, then it's always going to be a small little business. And you also got to know what makes you happy. You might not want to run a multi-million-dollar practice and doing stuff, but the ones that do took a risk somewhere.
Yeah, and continue every day. Like
the only guys who didn't take a risk, the ones who won the lottery. That's it.
But they don't end up well.
I'm not banking on that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you took a big risk back there in 1990 something.
So it was when the CEO walked in was 2000. It was right end of 1999, started 2000.
Okay. And you moved out to San Diego
like
based on that
forever,
information.
So
year?
I kind of became a consultant for them. They gave us a bunch of equipment. We started testing because we had some of our early 3D motion capture labs there.
Now this is back in the day of like that stuff was clunky. We're not talking flat screen displays.
This is hand digitizing.
Yes.
Taking 45 minutes per swing.
Yeah.
This was like, your mobile phone now has,
better. Yeah.
100,000 times more power than what we
Right.
were doing back then, right? We used to have the big camera with the
on
VCR,
your shoulder.
on the shoulder,
Yeah.
all that kind of
That's so
stuff.
awesome.
Yep. And then, that was state of the art at the time,
Yeah.
right? So we were getting some really cool stuff. And basically the CEO of Titleist took me and the golf professional Dave Phillips, flew us to their facility in San Diego and said, hey, listen, I want to show you this facility we have, 33 acres out here in Oceanside, California. We use it for fitting our players and testing our equipment. And they were like, do you think we could do more out here? And I'm again, like, I'm like, I see a vision here. I'm like, I think we could build a performance institute in golf, because golf's never had one. The Yankees have a training center.
Sure.
The Lakers have one, but nothing had ever happened in golf. And I was like, listen, you've got this incredible facility. You have the best players in the world coming out here. Let's start collecting data, start learning on what they're doing. I go, we can create a gym. We can create a whole motion capture studio. And he was like, why don't you guys design it? Tell me, like, I'll hire you to be a consultant to design it for us. So we designed the dream and give him the dream. And literally he comes back to us and says, I love it. I have one problem. He goes, I will literally build this for you if you two decide to move out here and run it for us. And I'm like,
Pony up, buddy.
Twist my arm.
Yeah.
And
Hold on. Let me shovel some snow here off the sidewalk and think about moving to San Diego. I'll let you know in about 2 seconds.
The rest is history.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And for those of you, of the people listening, because I know that we do have a lot of TPI certified folks that maybe have stopped by the facility, was the building there and you guys modified it, or was it
we modified everything. So there was the facility there, like where our gym is now, was an old COR testing where they would test the club face.
Okay.
We had complete rebuild of the grounds. So we added in a lot of our skills testing area, the wedge area for Bob Vokey where he's at, where we do the wedge stuff. We added like our putting studio in there and all the 3D bays.
Cool.
Kind of were
Yeah.
built.
I mean, if anybody's been out there, it's like it's still nirvana, right? Like you got to walk out every day and just be like, dude, this is awesome.
It is. I always tell people 10 times, I believe this is right, 10 times more people play Augusta National every year than come to the Titleist Performance Institute. It's a pretty unique experience to come out there. We still see tons of people get all kinds of data, but yes, we are
So if you go
completely spoiled.
If you go to mytpi.com and see a seminar that's based in Oceanside, I would highly recommend you sign up.
It's a fun one.
Yeah, it's worth it. So anyway, this is kind of taking a turn, but that's all right. I thought we were going to talk about how to do this.
We can talk about whatever you want.
No, but I love the fact that it's thinking big, because I've said this, and Greg and I are standing here at the Parker seminar, and he just got done speaking on stage, and I hear a lot in our group, and people email me with some like fear-based questions and whatnot, and I think based on what we're seeing, there's never been a better time to be a chiropractor.
I completely agree. I think if you're seeing what's happening with the chiropractic schools right now, they're all starting to open up into the thing that we talked about. There's a glaring weakness if you can't do all of the skills: rehabilitation, fitness, chiropractic. Like the modern chiropractors should be able to handle anything that comes in musculoskeletal, and I think they're starting to prepare the students better.
Okay, which is great news, right?
Yep.
So kudos to Parker University for doing that, because we have some great instructors out there that are pushing that message. But can you talk? I think a lot of people are thinking, "Oh, I'm just a chiro." They have that idea. I'm just a chiro, right?
Well, and again, there's nothing wrong with saying you're just a chiro, right? So I think that's okay.
But I think the perception of the public at the high performance level where you're at, like you might get some pushback from people in your neighborhood.
No, they don't know anything, right? So they just want to get better.
Right. They don't ask for your license when they walk in, right?
Nobody's ever asked me for my license. Nobody's ever asked me what I got in school.
Are you
or
licensed?
my grades. I don't even know if it matters, but no, it does matter. But here's the thing: no one's ever asked me what I am or what my grades were. Only thing they ask me is, "Can you help me?" And then literally, they want to know if you can get results. Right. So literally, all I'm saying is that the modern chiropractor needs to get results. That is the key, right? So if you're getting into this business, you either need to get results with your skills, or you need to build a team around you that can handle anything that walks into your office.
All right, I love that idea. I love the idea of a team. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our interview with Dr. Greg Rose after this.
Are you a chiropractor or physical therapist working long hours, worrying about lower repayments and missing out on quality time with your family? You can double your income without working more hours by adding a gym to your practice. Clinic Gym Hybrid Solutions has a step-by-step guide that dramatically simplifies and speeds up the addition of a fitness center and its monthly recurring revenue. In just 6 months, you can be on your way to freedom. Visit clinicgymhybrid.com today for a free downloadable PDF and complimentary consultation to get you started. That's clinicgymhybrid.com.
And we are back with Dr. Greg Rose. So we just had a pretty cool thing. We took a little break there, and I think Greg single-handedly changed the face of chiropractic.
Do you?
Well, we'll see. Give it a couple years, but if
we
chiropractic...
had some good meetings.
Yeah, if chiropractic changed, it was Greg, no matter what happened, okay?
That's it. I'm taking credit.
Yeah, I would.
We're in the middle of the party here at Parker right now, so it's going to get a little louder.
It's a celebration parade that's going by, just celebrating what Greg just did for the profession. Yeah. Anyways, so we were talking about like thinking big and not letting kind of fear invade your business plans. You're talking about the 10-year plan out 10 years and just back it up year by year.
Yep.
Okay. And
just make sure what you put down is what you want, because if you're good, it'll happen.
Right. And that's actually common, is people achieve something and they realize,
hate it. Yeah.
It's funny, like whenever we get these young chiropractors that come in, or young students before they've decided to go to PT, chiro, some med school, and they say, I really want to work with athletes, so I'm going to go to PT school. And I always say, and I love PTs, like I'm just saying, go spend time in 3 different PT clinics and see what they're really doing. And so many of them think I'm going to become a PT, and then they get stuck and say outpatient ortho, joint replacement therapy, and don't know how to break out.
But remember, it's their fault, right?
Yeah.
It's not the profession's fault. So basically, you have the power to do whatever you want. Right?
Yeah. So what Greg is saying is go into those clinics, point out to somebody and say, you had a choice.
You did. I don't want to say you always had a choice, because money's always an issue, right?
Sure.
But if you go into everybody has to do something they don't want to do sometimes to get to what they really want, right? But as long as you know why you're doing it to get to your dream, it's still one of the steps to get to your dream. And you know why you're there, because you're building the things that you need to get to your dream. Just don't accept that what you have is what you always have.
Yeah. I think one of the most powerful parts of being a chiropractor, and we've talked about this, is you are about as completely free to choose your path as you can be in medicine.
It's a great business. The thing about it, you can set up shop anywhere you want.
Right.
Right. I've just got to pass a board, but I'm feeling confident you can do that. And People that love what you do come back. People who don't, you never see them again. That's a
Right.
beautiful thing, right?
Yeah. all you need, you already got. It's your hands, right, and your brain.
Literally a table and your
Yeah.
brain, and you can build an empire.
Right, and you can
Yeah.
decide. People are always talking about how bad healthcare is getting. I think, well, in chiropractic, you have the choice to go cash. You 100% go cash.
100%.
But
Yep.
most orthopedic surgeons, I mean, you work with Jim Andrews. He doesn't really have that choice. I don't think his business would sustain at cash.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Again, you got to write down what you want to build because you can do it.
Yeah,
Right. Just make sure it's something you love.
that's awesome. All right, and you certainly have seen a lot of careers build and flourish, and people come up. And I've luckily been around some of the people you've had influence. Jason Glass, for example. I mean,
Yep.
started out as a strength coach.
Still is a strength coach.
But an assistant strength coach for a university part-time,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And now he has truly developed what's his dream.
He went from a strength coach to owning a business.
Right.
Right. That's kind
Yeah.
of what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Because he kind of said, here's all the things I would love to be doing, and my degree doesn't really matter. It's your vision that holds you back, right?
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So you talked about making the 10-year plan, but can we talk about maybe some tips for business that you see that people should have? So everybody listening to this podcast, just to give you some examples, usually a practicing chiropractor.
Yep.
We're encouraging them to add a gym, to add in the recurring revenue, monthly membership stuff, which helps them make better business decisions. But in general, what suggestions?
Define that
Go ahead.
gym for me real quick. So,
Big space, 1/3 clinic, 2/3 gym space. So if you're at 5,000 square feet, you're going to have roughly 1,500 to 1,700 square feet of
Okay.
clinic, bathrooms, and front waiting staff,
Yeah.
or waiting room. And then the rest of it's big open space gym, functional training model, implementing a lot of what Tom Plummer has said, Rick Mayo.
Small group training.
That's right,
Going through. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So for those people, they're adding in. But what are some business things that you suggest for them to do? Some steps
so
or suggestions?
I always start step one. Why do I think people fail? Let's
Okay.
start with that.
That's
'Cause,
good.
So number one is they try and do something they're not good at.
Okay.
Okay. So just remember, if you're going, I am good at chiropractic.
Yeah.
Right. I'm good with my hands, but I want to build a gym.
Yep.
Right. What do you know about running a gym?
Yep.
Right. If the
I
answer
know
is
nothing.
I know
Yep.
nothing, well then guess what you need to do? You need to hire somebody who knows
Right.
how to run a gym.
It's
right?
not a how problem, it's a who problem.
It's a who problem. Basically, you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, and they can work for you.
Right.
One of the best things I ever did is I created an advisory board. I created a staff that, listen, I've got programmers, graphic designers, I got people. I don't know anything about that, but I've got one of the best teams in the world, and now I can do what I want. Right. So I stick with what I'm good at. So it's Gerber's book, The E-Myth. If you've never read The E-Myth, right? It's like the entrepreneur myth is the guy making all the bread in the factory says, this place wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me, decides to go put up his own factory and own bread factory, and 3 months later he's bankrupt because he doesn't know how to run a factory. He knows how to make bread, right?
But luckily, along the way to bankruptcy, he got really tired, didn't see his family, and hates life.
Exactly. Those are the bonuses,
Yeah.
right? So literally what I'm saying is figure out what you are, right?
Okay.
If you are the entrepreneur, then you need to hire the worker.
Okay.
If you're the worker, you need to hire the managers, the entrepreneurs, hire the people you need to make your business successful, because then you're too busy working in your business to work on your business.
Okay.
Right? So that's number one. And then people don't come to your facility because you've got great equipment.
What?
People come to your facility because they want to hang out with your staff and with you, and they get results, right? So do not invest money in equipment, invest money in staff.
Okay.
And then that staff will get you all the money in the world to buy all the equipment you want.
Okay. So once again, it's a who issue.
It's
and-
always a who issue. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. Like places you go on a repeated basis.
Yeah.
Do you hate the people that are there, or do you like the people that are there?
Right. Yeah.
And you will, if you love the people at this one gym, but the equipment's maybe 5 years old, you hate the people at this other gym and it's brand new, you're still going to go to the one you love the people.
Right. Well, for your point, there are 2 Starbucks within like 2 or 3 miles of my house. There's one I avoid because I think the server in the morning is always bitchy, and I think I'm going to go to this one. Now we know that the product is exactly the same. The cup is exactly the same. Everything's exactly the same except this person.
And it's amazing on how many people allow that to poison their facility, right?
Interesting,
So like
yeah.
I've hired people that I've gone to, like you said, a Starbucks, and the person in the front was so nice, and I was like, if you ever want a job, call me. I'd love for you to be my receptionist.
Okay.
Just because I want to hang out with you. I don't even know you. I
Right.
just met you. I want to hang out with you. But
Right.
every position has a person like that. Now, if you find the person who has the knowledge and that skill, those are your keepers that you want to, and you make those people happy. And the key to making them happy is not just by money. That is a key, though, by the way. You want to make sure you pay them well enough. But it's recognition, listening to them, letting them feel like they have some control, and giving them some control, because it allows you to do what you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, every time they do those studies of why do you love your job, money is always on the list, but it's 5th.
Yeah,
You know, it's
100%. If you get to the point where it's too low, they can't survive. They
Right.
can't survive. They love. So many people are like,
Yeah.
I'd love to stay here, but I just can't. You
Right.
know, that's a money problem.
But if you paid me another dollar, I would probably make it work. Yeah.
So if you're going to build, if you're a chiropractor and you're going to go add this exercise component and build this gym, the first thing I'd say to myself is, what do you know about running that business? And
Okay.
if you don't, then the first thing you do is you find that person that's
Yeah.
going to help you do this.
So you don't just throw your hands up and say, I don't know anything, right?
No, you don't
'Cause
just go build a big box,
Right.
put some equipment in there, and go, I hope this works.
So the
Those are
first
the people
step.
who go bankrupt and
Right.
lose a lot of money.
Okay, cool.
You know
So
what I
don't put yourself at risk. Before you have more space, have the
I have this
person.
Yeah, I have this. Let's in our golf business, the TPI.
Uh-huh.
A lot of our guys take our stuff and they said, I want to get that 3D system,
Uh-huh.
right? And they're like, but that 3D system costs $5,000 to buy
Yep.
this. They're like, should I buy it? I'm like, you should never buy anything. Your patients should buy it.
Yep.
So literally, what I have them do is I say, okay, write a letter when you go home and send it out to all your patients, and just say, listen, next month we're bringing in the new state-of-the-art 3D motion capture system. It's only gonna be here for a month. We're renting it for a month. There's limited spots. There's 100 spots. It's $200 to come in and get this evaluated. If 100 people sign up and they're gonna pay you $200 and they pre-sign up to get these slots, that month comes, you do the evaluation. After it's over, you email them back and say, it was such a success, we decided to buy it and it's here for good. But guess what? You didn't buy it. Those 100 people that paid you $200, they bought it easily. You paid
Right.
$5,000 and you put another 15 in your pocket. So basically, if you send out that letter and you say, hey, we got this great piece of equipment. I got this gym coming next month. If you're interested in pre-signing up, sign up now. And 3 people say they're interested, you have a much bigger problem. Don't go buy a gym.
Right.
You need to figure out how to get a practice that's interested in that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like most gyms do pre-sales.
Right.
Some gyms will set up in cities, and I've opened 2 gyms in my life. So if they'll do a pre-sale in that city, and they're all excited about it, and sometimes the gym never shows up because they
Right.
didn't get the pre-sales.
Right.
Yeah. So
They just
do your
refund
homework.
everybody and say, hey, thanks a lot, but
And again, like I said, don't think this is just as simple as I've got this space, I'm going to put some equipment here, and people are going to start signing up and doing a gym. That is not what makes a successful
okay.
gym medical practice.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's say they get to that step. They find the person,
A couple trainers or
Yeah.
a person who's run gyms before.
right?
Yep.
And they got it, and they say, hey, I want to offer classes.
Yep.
But where would you go from there? You got the person. What would be the next step in the Greg Rose map to domination?
I like the way you think. Okay, so literally, if I'm talking
Well, you're not
about
a guy who wants to, like, you and Elon Musk, right? Like, hey, you don't want to just go to Mars. You're like, can we take over Mars? That's what I want to know. Like, who owns this real estate? Who do I need to file with? I want to own it.
But I also I want to make it clear I'd want to master what I have first before I move
Okay.
on, right? So that's
So you
in
have
the
a
plan.
healthy clinic that's already pumping out
People are
people.
like, some people are like, oh, I'm going to go open 3 of these, and they can't even leave theirs. Until
Yeah.
you can leave yours and it still make money, you can't open another one.
Ooh, let's say that again.
Yeah, until you can go to the Parker seminar and your clinic is still making money without you and operating no problem, the thought of opening another one, somebody should punch you in the face and try and knock that thought out of your brain.
Right. Okay.
Because you don't have a system, right?
Yeah.
Systems are what you can replicate.
Yeah.
Right? So the next step is create your system. Right?
Okay.
And a system is not Greg's Chiropractic Center. You know, it's like
Right.
Dallas Chiropractic Center. When you come here, we have a system. That
It was
system-
Advantage Golf.
Advantage Golf is what I
Yeah.
opened, right?
And
I'm
the
not-
only reason you went with Titleist Performance Institute was Titleist underwrote the whole thing. He said, all right, we'll give you name recognition.
And it was at their facility, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Yankees training stadium,
Yeah.
right? So, but literally the idea of saying, this is Greg's Chiropractic Center. Everybody wants to see Greg, right? That's not a system. You're selling a person.
Okay.
If you're going to build a gym and you're
Yep.
going to have a medical practitioner, you want to build this. Our system does this.
Yep.
There's what we do: is the medical team evaluates you first. And
Right.
if there's any problems, we clear it up. Then we bring you to our training, and our training helps make sure it maintains all the corrections and makes it so it's preventative. And our system does this. We do this. And if they're
Yep.
like, "Who's we?" You're like, our whole staff. If it's just you, I still say it's we, because at some point it's going to be
Right.
if you're successful.
Right. Now, I got to say, like, this is a thing that I've learned from you by observation is no matter what setting you're in, you always do a great job of including everybody who's on your team at that time. I teach SFMA with you. You say, we do this. When I see you teach at TPI, you do, we do this. And because of that, everybody has an invested, an investment to see the brand get better, see the team get better,
Yeah.
and promote the person next to them.
Well, think about I'm thinking of more from the client.
Yeah.
So imagine if the client came, imagine if I came in and I said, I'm working for you. And I
Okay.
said, well, the way Dr. Satterley likes to do this is blah, blah, blah. They're going to go, why am I not seeing Dr. Satterley?
Right.
You know what I mean? If they're like, why are you regurgitating does it not matter what you think? You
Mm-hmm.
know, so if we just go, listen, our philosophy here is this. This is our philosophy.
Right.
Whether if I started yesterday or I've been here for 10 years, it's still our philosophy. And everybody's got to have the same philosophy. That's another big thing too. And that culture, you're trying to build a culture.
Yeah.
Right? And to build a culture, you have to do a couple. First of all, you have to create a philosophy that everybody loves. It's got to be fun. You have to reward the loyal. It's really important. Like if you've got people
Okay.
that come, that's your number one customers. Reward loyal. You have to.
The loyal. I want to make sure there's a little background noise. Reward the loyal members of your
Customers, members of your
whatever.
gym,
So,
patients. You reward
for those
the
who
loyal.
see like TPI, there's a World Golf Fitness Summit every 2 years.
If you're
The
level
people
3,
that
it's
have
free.
bought everything from you
Yep.
say, hey, come on, I'll
free.
host you basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
What, you highlight the leaders,
Okay.
reward the loyal,
Okay.
and you motivate the followers, right?
Okay.
So it's basically, and how do you motivate the followers is you highlight the leaders.
Uh-huh.
So you get the most inspirational people, you do stories, you
Yeah.
have like, here's our patient of the month and here's what they did and you blah,
Okay.
blah, blah. The people that have been there forever, there's some type of, in the gym, we always have, there's this loyalty rewards
Yeah.
program for you guys. And that helps motivate the masses to become one of the leaders
Right.
or become one of the loyal.
Yeah.
That's how you create a culture and a
Yeah.
cult, right?
I mean,
Which is what you want.
Yeah, Disney, for example. If you're a Disney vacation club, they're timeshare people,
Yeah.
and you've come and you bought annual passes, they send you stickers to put on your car, and the people who believe in it do the stickers. They'll send you a license plate
And you're
frame.
like, but I'm just a small chiropractor. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So first thing you do is you create your system. You figure out how you're going to highlight the excellence, the people, the leaders. You figure out how you're going to reward your loyal, and that's just going to start motivating. And
Right.
you know, if you don't know anything about social media and you don't know anything about marketing, so that's the first thing you're going to hire. Right. You go. It's people don't understand how powerful that can be, and I think that they're scared. They're scared to risk some money. But if
Okay.
if you go spend $1,000 and it makes you $5,000.
You-
Imagine what happens if you spent 50,000.
Right.
What I could do. People don't think like that, but you should.
Yeah.
Right, so that's
well, it
really,
is
really
scary,
important.
like to write that first
Absolutely,
check,
it's
and it's
scary.
like, hey, I write it today, and I'm not going to see effect. I mean, in marketing prayer, you might not see effect for 4 to 6 weeks, and you're
Some of them it's instantaneous. I mean, it's amazing what the right
Okay.
things can do. But I just you asked me the steps of what I would do. So
Yeah.
the first thing I do is I create the concept, the system.
Okay.
That's stuff. I get the people.
all right.
Got to get the rock stars in
Yep.
there. Then we kind of build our culture. Then figure out the minimal necessary equipment we need. Because once the clients start coming in, they're going to help buy the rest of the stuff.
Right.
And
Okay.
then how do I market this?
Okay.
Because I want to spend most of my money on marketing, not on the machines right now, and then that'll feed the rest.
Say that again to all my friends who maybe are not spending enough on marketing.
Yeah, well, what do most people do? They go open up a clinic, they spend $100,000 on the greatest tables and equipment, blah, 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 and they stare at them all day because they don't have any patience.
Right.
Because they have no ability to get them.
Yeah.
If
Now, I
you
always tell the story. For this consulting gig I had to call 30 different chiropractors, and all the ones I say, where do you get most of your clients? They say, word of mouth referral. I say, how many new patients a month? 20 to 40, right? I would call it people in every state. And then I ask some other people, where do you get most of your clients? We do some advertising, some marketing. I have a social media platform. How much do you spend? I spend about 10 or 15 grand a month. Okay. How many new patients a month do you get? I think last month we had 84. The month before was 112.
Right.
Like, it
Well,
scales.
And I'm even saying back up, like if you're going to go, let's say you're a new chiropractor and you're going to go set up your practice.
Yeah.
And we've been through this. You and I have both been through this. You look at all the tables that are out there.
Yeah.
Some people in their mind, and this is with motion capture, with video, with tables, go, if I get the fancier equipment, it's going to get me more patients. 'Cause
Absolutely.
they're like the patients, like
Right.
the patients have any idea what a table
Well,
should
it's like
look
when you buy a Maserati and then you go to the bar and think that every chick there is going to take you home, right?
Well,
It's a perfect correlation.
it's and I'm saying is they wouldn't even know what a Maserati or a Dodge
Yeah.
Dart was,
Yeah.
right? The
Because
patient.
they're not going out to the parking lot with you.
Oh, they're not going there for the table.
Yeah.
They're going there for you, right?
Yeah.
So the equipment you buy for you to whatever you need to get the result.
Okay.
It's not marketing.
Right.
People are like, oh, I'm going to get that cool 3D motion capture. I'm going to get this laser thing
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's going to get
Yep.
me patients. It does not get you patients. It gets you results.
Okay.
You need to go get patients.
Okay.
Now, results gets you patients, but you got to start that, right? So the investment in the equipment is not marketing.
Okay.
That's what we should repeat. The investment in the equipment is not marketing.
All right. Yep. I think it's good because there's a lot of people out there thinking that, oh, I need this, I need that.
I got $100,000. I'm going to start my own practice. They
Yeah.
spend $85,000 on buying equipment, and they have
Right.
$15,000.
Yeah.
They should spend $15,000 on equipment
Right.
and $85,000 on marketing.
I mean, people would argue that you might be the one of the top chiropractors in the world, and I've been to your clinic, and it's literally a bench table, right? Like,
I have a pelvic bench.
right, and you have access to anything you want.
I had a fancy high-low
Yeah, yeah.
$10,000. I gave it to one of my friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. but people know the TBI brand, and they know Greg Rose.
And by the way, I think I can treat anything. I mean, I treat some of the best athletes in the world come in there every day and do stuff. Again, but they're not coming in there for my table.
Okay.
Right. So now I'm not saying anything bad about tables, but I'm just saying don't start with that.
Right.
Once you have this great practice and everybody's coming in, those patients will buy that table for you.
Right.
Because you're making money and they can do that stuff. Just don't risk your dollars starting out on equipment.
Okay.
Risk it on what will get you patients, and the patients will get you everything else.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more about that, like that external marketing. Like, so I got my tiny little clinic, super lean. Yeah. I'm treating on my portable table, which is fine. By the way, some of the best treatments I've ever gotten were at a seminar on a portable table, so you can treat on anything.
I built portable tables with a friend of mine, Alton Krenzlach, when we went to chiropractic school together. In chiropractic school, I had a workshop. We used to build portable tables, and we sold them to other students. So I made money when I was chiropractic. That's probably why I still have a little portable. That's what I use.
It's like a piece of me's in there. So what if you could give some people tips on marketing? Because you've done everything from marketed a huge brand for. I mean, you have a hired full-time social media guy, right? And then you were a tiny little chiropractor.
When I hired him, in 1 month, he increased our social media following by 900%. Not 9%, 900%.
Okay.
Because guess what? I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So why would I do that? I want to hire an expert who knows
But
how
you
to do
had
this.
an iPhone X, man. You can do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It is amazing what you think you can do on your own, but there are experts who just, listen, you're an expert in chiropractic. Imagine hiring a marketing guy to do chiropractic. They laugh when you try and do marketing too, right? So it's the same thing. So first things, I guess if I was going to start, first of all.
Well, so you got practicing chiropractors listening, so they probably have a place. They've got a decent following. They've got some word of mouth referrals, but they're probably at that. I'm not really making a whole lot more than.
So I like talking. Obviously, we're doing this thing. I like presenting. I think people who speak or talk are looked as leaders. So I think you need to get good at talking. I mean, you're already talking with your patients, but talking in big groups.
Okay.
So if you have a message, you want a video. Video, by the way, nowadays marketing, nobody reads anymore. Or I shouldn't say that. They watch videos on their mobile device. They don't listen sound-wise, but they do read the subtitles. Right. So when you're going to do videos, make sure it's videos with subtitles. Because most, like 90% of videos watched now are with the sound off.
Greg's acting big, but he learned that from a social media guy he hired.
Oh, my social media guy taught me everything.
Yeah.
But so basically, what I would do is, first of all, niche specialize in something if you can. And know more about that than anybody in the world.
So you went after golf, it worked for you.
100%, right?
Right.
So
but there are people who could go after runners or whatever.
I mean, you could pick, I want to do 60 to 80-year-old female basket weavers, and I think there's a market. I think the more specific you get into your specialty, as long as you know more about that than anybody in the world, you will build a following.
And it's a whole lot easier to find those people when you niche down, because if I say I want to go after retired golfers, it's really easy to go to the clubhouse at a retirement community, and I'm going to find that, but I'm not going to find them out at Big Five, right? And if I want to go after the 60-year-old,
the more specialized it is, the easier it is to become the leader in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that, so I think that's really important. And once you have that, then you start talking about your message, and you create videos, you create different things in little snippets, and then you go, like I said, to social media, and you start putting some of that stuff out. And it's crazy. It's like you're fishing. You're creating a hook. And basically, what you can do, and Facebook has some incredible tools on this, is you can literally go put out, let's say a video on. Fly fishing is your favorite thing. Okay. Right? So you're working with people who have elbow problems. I'm making stuff up right now. Elbow problems with fly fishing. That's my specialty. And you do a couple of videos out there, and you put it out there, and you have Facebook. You spend $1,000 to promote that. Okay. And let's say 200 people see your video. Yeah. You're probably thinking that sucks. Well, you can use a little button on Facebook called lookalikes, and they can say, let's look at those 200 people, and let's see how many people in the Facebook world look like those people. And you can turn that into 2 million, a list. Right. And then you have a list of 2 million that are potential. And I'm just, this is just basic
off the
101.
cuff. Yeah, it's fine.
Right? There's these tools that you can do to start getting your word out and spread. And if people like what you're doing, it's like the build it and they will come. If you build this little specialty niche over there, there's a world for it. They just need to hear about it.
For everybody listening, I just want to make something clear. If you go back and watch the movie, they don't say, build it and they will come. He says, build it and he will come. So if you build it, one person will show up and look at your fancy table.
We're
of
changing
3D.
the movie, Josh. It's they will come.
But I'm just saying, you got to talk about it and get in front of those groups. So So going back to something you said,
that's how it starts.
Yeah,
That's a cheap way to start.
right. I mean,
Right.
but everybody literally coming
didn't-
out of school can, before you get out of school, you can start talking about some niche, right? If you're the number one chiropractor or the number one expert in knee pain and mountain bikers,
Yep.
you go start doing talks at
At
mountain
least
bike
you're not
shops.
competing with every chiropractor now.
Right.
You're just competing with other chiropractors
Right.
specialized in mountain biking knees, and I don't know any.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the people that have that mountain bike and want to do that as their enjoyment would love you.
Yeah,
They'd
and
absolutely love
think about your area, your locations, everything. You want to live where you want to live, right? So every community.
Everybody in frickin' San Diego says that. You got to live where you live.
Remember,
They rub it in the faces of the guys in Las Vegas.
I was
It's fine.
28 years in Washington D.C. So
Yeah,
but
okay.
if once you
Well,
find
no,
that,
you went to Iowa to
That's
really
true.
liven it up.
That's true. Well, once you find that your location, there's a culture there, and
Okay.
there's like like you said, San Diego, where I'm at.
Yeah.
If I said I'm going to be the world's expert chiropractor in surfing,
Okay.
right, and let's say longboard,
Okay.
I can build a massive practice there. On
Yep.
that. Now, if I said that's my dream, and I'm in Anchorage, Alaska, I think you're going to fail.
Okay.
Right. Make sure you,
Yep.
you find something that, or
Right.
move to
Yeah.
where your dream is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a lot of what you do, right? Like if you're a runner and you want to be help out people. I know a guy in St. Louis and they have a
Yeah.
ton of 5Ks and 10Ks
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and he does very well for himself.
Yep.
Okay. Now
That's how
going
it
back to the speaking thing, because I know that's something that you changed my life. You and Tom Plummer throwing balls of paper at me repeatedly was a great
In the speaker
experience.
school. Yep.
Yeah, it's awesome. And if anybody wants Tom Plummer, the NFBA National Fitness Alliance has some.
I think you can just look up Tom Plummer on Google
Yeah.
and you'll see all his stuff.
You'll see him. He texts his manifesto every other morning and like has some incredible Facebook posts.
Yeah.
The guy's a great writer. I mean, I'll give him he is unbelievable.
He's a great business consultant, and he's an incredible speaking coach.
Yeah.
It's been my speaking coach for a long time. We've been doing speaking seminars, speaking
Right.
schools for a while, and it's amazing with the transformation you can see in people in 2 days. And I always say, listen, great speakers are not born; they are created. Right? It's a skill,
Yeah.
just like great chiropractors are born.
Yeah.
They're created, and it's,
For example, Jason Glass,
again,
speaking.
it's a skill that you learn.
Right, and
Yeah.
and you tell a story of when he went through speaker school, but that was also probably, if we looked at a timeline of his success, there probably upticked right after that, right?
Well, I mean, Jason, basically, our speaker school was invite only.
okay,
Right, to become a speaker at TPI, we would see people who were like, I really think, Josh, you got some potential. I'd like you to do this. Well, Jason wrote me a letter saying, I want to be one of these
do
speakers.
you like me? Check yes or no.
It was. I get a lot of letters, but this was one where I was like, man, this kid really, he took some time and effort
Wow.
here. And I'm like, invite him to the next speaker school.
That's awesome.
Comes to speaker school, and Tom Plummer and I, there's 20 people in the room.
Yep.
We go through, and after it was over, we both looked at each other and we're like, that kid right there, he can be a superstar. He knows how to command an audience, right? Just needs some coaching, doing stuff. And again, I don't think he was born like that. You can train this in there, but if you have that gift, if you have that skill, you have one of the most powerful marketing tools in the world,
Okay,
and it's something you should cultivate.
right. So along those lines, for people who are like, well, Greg's just saying that because he's out at national conferences and
But I used
he
to
has
hate
TPI.
to speak.
Right. Go back to the
I used to
early
be
days. Tell
petrified.
us about that. Like,
I'll tell
way
you-
back before.
I'll tell you,
before it was
who
big.
changed my life.
Okay.
A chiropractor named Bob Rifkin.
Okay.
When I graduated chiropractic school, I literally I wanted to open up a golf practice, right? So I'm like, I can't buy one.
Right.
It doesn't exist. So I went into this practice. It was, I'll never forget, there was an ad. It was called White Flint Chiropractic. It was for sale.
Okay.
I went to the receptionist and I was like, hey, I just graduated. I heard about the practice for sale and I want to see it. And she freaked out. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, our practice is for sale? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, did you not know? And she goes in the back, comes back out, and this doctor, Bob Rifkin, comes out and goes, son, I don't know where you heard us, but we're not for sale. And I'm like, this is White Point Chiropractic. He's like, oh, no, they're across the street. I was in the wrong place, right? So as I'm like, I'm sorry, I go to leave. He's like, well, hold on a second, tell me what you're doing. And I was like, I just graduated from school. I'm trying to buy a practice. And
Yeah.
he's like, why do you want to buy a practice? And I'm like, because I'm going to do something weird. And he was like, listen, I'm looking for a partner. He goes, why don't you give me 6 months?
Okay.
Come work with me for 6 months. And if you like it, I'll let you buy in and be a partner. And I'm like, you know, I don't think you know what I'm doing, but he was cool. I was like, I'm going to go check out this other practice and I'll come back. I went and checked out the practice. I went home that night and I was like, something's telling me I should go work with that guy for 6 months. I called him up. I went in there and I was like, listen, I want to give it a shot. I think we hit it off. And for 6 months, he taught me the business of how do you get set up with insurance companies, how do you bill, how you do it, and all these things that I knew I needed to do anyway.
Yeah.
To when I started my own. But he said to me, he goes, Greg, so how are you going to get some patients? And I go, I don't know. I'm just starting. I'm just up. And he's like, well, listen, I'm going to teach you. He goes, we do public speaking here. And I go, oh man, I don't know. I'm not really big. He's like, listen.
And at this point, you're just out of straight out of chiropractic college. You're what, 24 years old?
It's like, early.
Something like that?
How am I am 26 years old.
Okay.
And basically, he's like, listen, we go to all these, from the U.S. Congress to the Department of Energy. We go to all these huge departments here, and we do talks on health and chiropractic, and that's how we get our patients. He's like, I want you to come with me. We'll do a couple of these, and then I'm going to train you how to do it. I'm like,
all right.
okay. So I go and I watch him, and this guy was great. He was great. He just loved. He's up on the stage, was where he was meant to be. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So he comes back, and after like the first month, he's like, all right, are you ready to start your training? And I'm like, training for what? He's like, to be a public speaker. And I'm like, sure. And he goes, every Friday we'll meet after work. And have I ever told you this story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I go, I'll meet you after work on Friday, and we'll spend an hour. And I'm like, okay. So I kind of forget about it because I was Monday. On Friday, he shows up and get done. It's like 6:30, and he's like, all right, are you ready? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we're going to do our speaker training. I'm like, oh, I forgot. He's like, just come in the back. We're ready whenever you are. And I'm like, we? Who's we? I walk in the back, and we had probably maybe 4 or 5 CAs that would work throughout there. His wife was. I walk in there, they're all there. Everybody's there. So there's like 5 CAs, his wife, and Bob's sitting in chairs. And I walk in, I'm like, it looked like an intervention, right? I'm like, what is this? And he's like, Greg,
we need to talk.
Greg, we need to talk. He's like, hey, listen. He goes, we're gonna give you some. We're gonna give you a topic.
Okay.
I'd like you to talk about something, and then we'll give you some feedback.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. And I'll never forget. First thing he says to me, he goes, so Greg, my aunt went to a chiropractor, and she got her neck adjusted, and she had a stroke. Is that going to happen to me? And I was like, and as soon as I said that, everybody started throwing something at me. Like, you can't say, or blah. And I'm like, I just didn't know how to react to it. They're like, that sucked. Turn around and start over again. So I turn around and I'm like, all right. And they're like, well, hold on, we haven't asked you a question yet. I'm like, I thought it was, they're like, no, we're going to ask you a different question. And they would torture me.
This is like
they would torture me.
baptism by fire.
So they'd ask me different questions to the point where I was like, I'm like, ask me anything. And I would say, and when I got to the point where I could get through the whole thing, and everyone was like, man, that was pretty good. They're like, all right, let's go try one. Let's go do a talk on acupuncture on for this one office.
Yeah.
And literally, I'll never forget it. After 6 months, I decided to go open up this golf practice, and I needed more space. His place wasn't big enough, but we've always stayed friends. And I went and did it. And 2 years later, I call him up, and I was like, listen, it's 1998. I go, Bob, I've got something really cool. I've learned a lot of cool things about golf. And I'm thinking that I should do seminars on this. I go, but I'm a little nervous that I'm going to teach other chiropractors what I'm doing because I think I got a specialty sauce. And I'll never forget. He looked me right in the face and he was like, did I teach you nothing? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, listen, if you get up there on that stage and you start teaching this, you will always be the leader. He goes, and people look up to the leader. He goes, don't you worry about what you say. Just go out there and say what you believe and it'll all work out. And he literally started my career.
Wow.
Pretty
cool. That guy was the
Bob Rifkin.
The impetus of you being up on stage.
Dude, I was petrified at speaking. Now I love it. I mean, I feel like my
so it unlocked your career. I mean, without that, you could never be where you are now, right?
No chance.
Yeah.
Zero chance.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
So speaking and early on, these talks that you were giving, they weren't 120 people paying $600 to be in the door, right?
Randy Myers, who's one of the top golf trainers. Randy hosted one of my first golf talks at PGA National with the director of instruction for the PGA of America, Rick Martino at the time. There was 11 of us in the room. Me and Randy teaching to 11 people. And we always talk about it like we were, I think we were in Sweden or something like 5 years ago, and there's like 120 people, and he was like, we've come a long way from PGA National with 11 people.
Yeah.
But again, if you're passionate about something and people can see the passion, if you're knowledgeable about something, know more about something than anybody in the world, there is an audience that's interested. You just got to start doing it.
That's awesome. So that would be the base of your marketing plan.
Yep.
I mean, even today, your brand is building because of speaking.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, how people are going to know about you? Right?
Well, you buy that great table and a sweet X-ray machine and a 3D.
It'll transmit.
That's right. Yeah, it's like a bat signal. So once people have their speaking degree, I mean, this is going long, but one more tip marketing-wise that you think everybody kind of overlooks or... Because I think speaking is one of those things, I'll do it when it comes up. And I think you got to make it happen. You got to ask. You got to try and find the stage that it happens on, even if it's you hosting your own course.
I think a lot of people in their mind also think that I should never do anything for free. And I'm a big believer in you shouldn't discount anything, but I do believe you should give a lot of things away for free. And one of those things is your time. So if let's say your specialty is in mountain climbing for knees or mountain biking for knees, and a mountain biking club says, hey, we'd love for you to come in and do a 3-hour talk at our meeting over here, but we can't pay you. Say yes. Right? There are certain things you do for marketing that's just your time that puts you in front of there. And a lot of the things, you never know who's in that room with you. You never know who's in that room. Can you give an example in your world? I did a talk one time where I was dreading it. I was like, I'm going to this. I don't want to mention it because it was a. But you had to travel to this conference? Show that I was like, shoot me now. I can't believe I'm doing this. Yep. And when I did that talk, there were 2 presidents of 2 PGAs from other countries that were at that talk that literally incorporated our program into the PGA of that country. Yep. If I didn't go to that, again, you just never know who's in that room. That's awesome. Yeah. So give it away for free. Make sure you talk about it as often as you can. Your knowledge. Your knowledge. Yep. Yeah, but don't discount your, Yep. And don't discount them. Charge full boat. I don't like discount. The reason I don't like discount is like, let's say 2 patients talking to each other. Yeah. And one's like, hey, I can't believe Greg only charges $90. And they're like, what are you talking about? He charges me $110. There's no good reason for that. Right. There is no good reason. Now, if you say, oh, I'm part of the rewards program and I've earned points, like, I'll give things away for free. Yeah. But I don't discount. Okay. Cool. Right? You can say, listen, I'll give you 10 treatments for free if you do 100. I didn't discount anything. I gave something away for free. Okay. I like it. Yep. So let me just recap our conversation because it's a big one here. So make a 10-year plan. Yep. And back it out year by year. Most important. And that's going to take time. Write it down. Write it down, and it's going to take time. Put it on the refrigerator, look at it. Like if this is something that takes me 10 minutes, I didn't do it. You just didn't, there's no way. Yeah. You didn't think big enough. And remember, it needs to go back 10 years. If you go back 4 years and you're like, I'm already here, you're not thinking 10 years. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that was one. Second one was if instead of just building a space, hire. It's not about the equipment. It's the people. Right. The system. Yep. Right. It's us. Yep. Then market. And then market. That's it. And then go enjoy your. And then work 100-hour weeks in a place you love. Do everything you can. Give it all away for free until you can walk away. Yeah. And it runs on its own. Right. Oh, that's right. Yep. And then other than that, we didn't cover anything. And it's super simple. That's it. It's easy, right? It actually is. I know we were joking about it, but it actually is. Okay. All right. Well, Greg, this has been a slice of heaven, man. I really appreciate you being on. Anything you want to share with the world about what you're doing, or I've got 3.5 listeners, so if you want to promote something. Sure. I'll tip. So first of all, if anybody's interested in the golf seminars, obviously you can go to mytpi.com. Yep. mytpi.com. Check out our seminars for golf. We are launching 3 new certifications. We're launching one with the USPTA, the United States Professional Tennis Association. Okay. That's starting June 22nd, 23rd. We have a seminar in Orlando at the headquarters there. That's through a company called Racket Fit. Okay. RACQUETFIT, like Racket Fitness. Racket Fit. That website will go live here at the end of March. Okay. We have a 3rd certification for baseball, softball called On Base University or onbaseu.com. That's through a couple USSSA is one of our partners there, which is like travel ball for baseball, softball. And then we have one coming at the end of the year with U.S. Lacrosse. And all of those, if you go to myTPI, you'll hear about some of those. Yep. So if you're interested in sports specificity and learning about those sports as a chiropractor, you'll be able to do those. And then, as always, if you haven't done the FMS or the SFMA, at functionalmovement.com, we have our SFMA seminars that we'd love to show you what we do. And within there, I know you've been bragging about your SFMA level 2. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. The corrective is pretty cool. So if anybody listening, I know there's a lot of folks that have had a SFMA certification, but the correctives are pretty impressive, right? Basically what we do is we go around the world and we find some of the smartest people. It's not us. It's like I said, it's we. Yeah. And by picking the brains of so many great people that are involved and they're so willing to share, it's pretty cool. All right. Well, I love it. Well, at the end of this, every episode, I always say, go out there, maximize your license, and live the life you dreamt of. And Greg, I think you're helping those people expand what they're truly dreaming of. That. All right, cool, man. Cool. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for what you've done for chiropractic and everybody. And on behalf of Clinic Gym Radio, this is Dr. Josh Satterley. I guess that's a wrap. Thanks for listening to Clinic Gym Radio. If you're ready to double your profit without working longer hours, please visit clinicgymhybrid.com and find out how easy it is to get started on your path to freedom. That's clinicgymhybrid.com.